Ava and Caroline lived together in a high-rise apartment, enjoying the simple pleasures of life and taking care of each other. Ava's boyfriend, Bill, would often visit to look after her. One morning, Ava woke up and heard some noises coming from the kitchen. Thinking it was Caroline, she walked over only to find Bill there preparing a surprise breakfast for her. Bill smiled and told her to sit at the dining table and close her eyes. Filled with curiosity, Ava obeyed. When she opened her eyes, two small toys were placed in front of her. They reminded her of the day she first met Bill. Overwhelmed with happiness, Ava smiled at the memory. Just then, there was a loud thunderclap, followed by lightning in the sky. Ava and Bill were startled and quickly looked out of the window, wondering why this was happening when it wasn't the rainy season. To their shock, it began to rain heavily, but instead of water, the rain looked like falling ashes. Confused and concerned, Ava remembered hearing on the news a few days ago that a star was supposed to cross the Earth, potentially causing unusual natural changes. The rain continued to fall, and both of them stood by the window, watching in awe and concern. As they tried to make sense of the situation, Caroline entered the apartment. Ava immediately asked her if she had noticed the strange ash rain outside. Caroline, looking pale, fell to the floor unconscious. Panicking, Bill and Ava rushed Caroline to the hospital, desperate to find out what was wrong with her. At the hospital, chaos unfolded as more and more patients arrived with strange symptoms. Pregnant women, children, and others were admitted with bleeding from their ears and noses. What puzzled the doctors was that all the affected individuals were women. Bill, concerned, told Ava they needed to leave before things got worse, but Ava was determined to find out what happened to Caroline, so she stayed behind. Bill explained that the ash rain was likely caused by a virus carried by the asteroid that passed by Earth. It seemed to be affecting only women, and the virus could be spread through men. He urged Ava to leave the hospital, but she refused to leave without knowing Caroline's fate. They quickly suited up in hospital staff uniforms to avoid exposure and escaped. Back home, Bill and Ava carefully sealed the house with plastic sheets to keep the ash out. The situation grew more tense by the day, and they continued to stay inside, avoiding contact with the outside world. After taking a long bath, Ava received a call from the hospital. Carolyn had died. The news devastated Ava, and she fell into a state of fear and despair. The news continued to report on the virus, now known to be highly contagious and deadly for women. The government issued warnings telling women to stay indoors and be cautious. Ava's parents called, worried about her safety. They advised her to stay home and not venture out. Over the next 50 days, the rain of ashes showed no signs of stopping, and no vaccine had been developed. The number of women in the world rapidly decreased, leading the government to come up with a plan to increase the human population using artificial reproductive technology. Bill grew increasingly concerned that the authorities might discover Ava's survival. He feared they would take her away and use her for reproductive purposes. To protect her, he created a secret room under their bed where Ava could hide. Ava grew restless and bored being confined to the house. She often stared out the window, longing to know what was happening outside. Bill would warn her not to go near the window or touch anything. He was protective, telling her to stay away from everything and everyone. One day, when Bill went out to shop for supplies, Ava felt the urge to explore the world outside. She used Bill's laptop to look for updates online. She received an invitation to join a secret group of women who were still alive. Ava hesitated to tell Bill, knowing he would refuse to let her join. In the group, women shared their problems and struggles, and Ava soon learned that a violent riot had broken out in the city where her father lived. Concerned, she searched for her phone to contact her parents, but couldn't find it. Ava approached Bill and asked him about the phone. Bill explained that they couldn't use phones anymore because the government could track their calls. He told her to stay silent for a few days. Ava, feeling more isolated and depressed, sank deeper into despair. As the days passed, the situation worsened. The government was now hunting for women, trying to locate the survivors for their population plan. To make matters worse, perverts started targeting women, hoping to capture them. In response, Bill bought weapons and a medical kit to test if either of them had contracted the virus. Ava became even more paranoid. One day, after Bill left the house, Ava stood near the window, looking at the ash-covered world outside. She felt helpless and trapped. Bill came home and started testing himself for the virus using a small medical kit. He applied saliva to a test strip and dipped it in a solution. If the solution turned blue, it meant he was infected. They anxiously waited for the result, and when the solution turned blue, Bill told Ava that he had contracted the virus. From then on, he warned her to stay away from him and not touch him. Ava felt heartbroken. The fear of the virus and the loneliness of isolation weighed heavily on her. The world outside was bleak, covered in ashes, and all she could do was watch from her window. As the days went on, Ava's hope faded. The outside world seemed distant, and she couldn't help but feel the crushing weight of her new reality. Bill's words echoed in her ears and the future looked uncertain. Eva, after many days, receives a message in an online ladies group. Curious, she opens it and finds a woman chatting with her. The woman explains that yesterday they had forcefully taken one of the ladies from the group, and today she was online just to bid farewell. Eva, in a panic, asks what happened to the woman. The woman responds, "My nose started bleeding today, so I know I'll die soon." She then sends her photo and exits the group. Eva, shocked, prints the photo and sticks it on her wall. There are several other women's pictures there too. Eva realizes that all the women in the group were talking to each other without ever introducing themselves. If they had, they could easily be traced. However, the woman who had been affected by the virus couldn't hide her identity. She shared her photo and left the group. This was the last message in the group, and now Eva feels a deep sadness and starts spiraling into a deep depression. She spends the next 400 days in this state, disconnected from the world and isolated without the online group and her phone. One day, Eva's phone rings. It's a call from her father. She looks at the screen and sees multiple missed calls from him. Will, her companion, realizes there must be an emergency, but he's scared to let her speak to him, knowing that her father might get scared too. Eva, pleading, convinces him to make a video call. Will, reluctantly, calls her father, but to her shock, her father refuses to turn on his camera. His face is covered in wounds, and he explains in a broken voice that some people had come, beaten him, and took her mother away. He tried to stop them, but he couldn't. Now he doesn't know where her mother is. Eva, hearing this, is in disbelief. She's overwhelmed with panic and starts to speak, but before she can, Will quickly disconnects the call. Eva, now emotionally distraught, starts pleading with Will, desperate for answers. He tries to calm her, saying, "This is not a safe line. If they hear your voice, they'll know where we are in 15 minutes, and what happened to your mother will happen to you too." But Eva, consumed by anger, shouts at him, calling him controlling and abusive. Will, trying to maintain his composure, explains that he's only trying to protect her. Eva, furious, says that she has been living like a prisoner for almost a year. She feels trapped, longing to go outside to breathe the fresh air and see the sunlight once again. Will, realizing how much she's hurting, excuses himself to leave, thinking that it's best to give her space. But as he steps outside, he notices it's raining heavily and he turns back inside, knowing it's not the right time to leave. However, when he gets back inside, he finds Eva has disappeared. Panicking, he searches the house, but then he spots her standing on the roof. She's wearing her safety dress, gazing at the world she hasn't seen for over a year. For a brief moment, she feels the fresh air on her face. Will, seeing her, rushes toward her, but before he can stop her, she removes her mask and takes in the air. Seeing Eva in this vulnerable state, Will breaks down in tears, thinking that he has failed her. Eva, realizing the enormity of her mistake, feels terrible. She understands that everything Will has done for her, all his efforts, were in vain, and that breaks her heart. They both return to the apartment, and as Will sits crying on the sofa, Eva goes to take a bath. She washes away the ash and water from her body, trying to cleanse herself of everything. After taking a bath, Eva returns to the sofa and takes out a medical kit to check if she has been affected by the virus. She spits on a stick and puts it in a solution, but just then the sound of a siren from outside fills the air. Realizing that the police are coming, Eva quickly runs to the room prepared under the bed to hide. Several policemen enter the house, and they begin to search the apartment, interrogating Will in the process. One policeman inspects the bed thoroughly, while another questions Will about the documents in the house. They ask him why this apartment is under the name of Girls, to which Will cleverly responds that it's his lover's apartment. He explains that she has gone to visit her father, and the other girl, the one who passed away due to the virus, was a friend of hers. The police then inquire about the polythene sheets in the house. Will, without hesitation, tells them that he put them in place to keep her safe in case she returns. Then, another policeman questions him about the pictures on the wall, to which Will answers that they are all of his lover, but sadly, none of them are alive anymore. As the police leave, one of them pulls Will aside and says, "Live happily with her while you can, because they will not take those who are already infected." As Will looks at the medical test results, He sees that the solution has turned blue, and his heart sinks. He realizes that Ava is still alive. But for how long? The realization fills him with both relief and sadness. Will decides to take Eva somewhere she has longed to go, a place where she can find peace, a place she's always dreamed of visiting. He takes her to a waterfall in the city, a place where she can feel a sense of freedom, even if just for a brief moment. Ava and Will pack their bags and set off on a journey, determined to escape the chaos around them. Ava disguised herself as a man, wearing a scarf to cover her head and dressing in a way that would help her blend in. As she packed her belongings, she thought of the love and memories attached to each item, including her camera. They drove off, witnessing the city around them turning into a desolate, burning place. Soon they heard a police announcement, warning everyone, especially women, to stay indoors and seek safe havens. Will, sensing the danger, stopped the car near a shopping complex. He told Eva to stay quiet if anyone asked her anything, and then he went inside. Alone in the car, Eva caught a glimpse of herself in the mirror, realizing how different she looked in her disguise. She took a photo of herself, fascinated by the transformation. When she stepped out and went into the shop, a man eyed her suspiciously. He came up behind her and removed her cap, revealing her true identity as a woman. Shocked, he threatened the shopkeeper with a gun and demanded he turn the place over. After handing the shopkeeper some money, the man confirmed there was no one else around. Eva and Will, feeling uneasy, left the shop, thinking about how long this girl had managed to stay hidden. As night fell, they decided to stay in a hotel. Will went inside to book a room while Eva waited in the car. Suddenly, a transgender person approached the car, mistaking Eva for a man. Eva, unsure of how to react, reached for the gun in her bag, but the transgender person quickly backed off and left. Will returned, and they both went inside the hotel to rest for the night. While taking a bath, Eva noticed ash near the basin. Without hesitation, she dipped her finger in it and smeared it on her face, laughing as she looked in the mirror. She felt liberated after so many days of living in confinement, and she reveled in her newfound freedom. The next morning, they got ready and went to eat at a nearby hotel. The waiter stared at them strangely, but after they placed their order, he left to prepare the food. Eva took out a map, showing Will the route they had to take to reach the waterfall. As they were eating, the hotel TV played a news story about the government offering a $2 million reward for any girl child handed over to them, claiming that new technology was being used to create children artificially. Both Will and Eva were shocked by the news. Suddenly, Eva began to bleed from her ears. Will realized it wasn't safe to stay there any longer. In a hurry, they left the restaurant, leaving the map on the table. As they rushed out, two people, Arthur and Casey, entered the restaurant. Casey, Arthur's son, noticed the map and saw Eva leaving in a hurry. Curious, they decided to follow them. Will and Eva's car headed toward a forest with Eva still suffering from the ear bleeds. Will tried to comfort her, but nothing seemed to help. Frustrated, Eva told him to stop the car. She got out and, finding a secluded spot behind a tree, began to cry. After a while, she regained her composure and decided to drive. They reached the entrance to the waterfall and parked the car. They walked a short distance into the forest, setting up a tent to spend the night. The next morning, they set off again. But after a while, they came across a river and decided to rest on its bank. Eva, feeling lighthearted, took the gun from Will and challenged him to a shooting game. They spent the afternoon having fun and forgetting about their troubles for a while. But Arthur and Casey were still following them, using the map to track their journey. They reached the spot where Will and Eva had parked their car, and after puncturing the car's tires, they began their search through the forest. That night, as Will and Eva slept in the tent, Will woke up feeling thirsty. He decided to go to the river, but when he returned, he realized Eva was missing. Panicked, he started searching for her. Meanwhile, Arthur and Casey had found him, and with a gun in hand, Arthur demanded to know where Eva was. Will refused to tell him, shouting that he wouldn't give in. Eva, hearing the commotion, crept quietly behind a tree to observe. Arthur and Casey split up to search for her, but Eva managed to slip away and hide behind a large rock. Arthur searched desperately, but eventually he became tired and sat down by the fire with Casey. As night fell, Eva moved closer to Casey, her footsteps quiet and careful. Slowly, she approached him and gently stroked his cheek. Overcome with emotion, Casey cried tears of joy, recognizing the girl he had been following. But just as he was about to speak, Eva slapped him hard, knocking him out cold. With Casey unconscious, Eva freed Will, and together they ran through the forest. Will grabbed a gun and shot Arthur, ending the threat. Eva, weakened by the virus, struggled to keep moving, but they continued, knowing they were close to their destination. Finally, they reached the waterfall that Eva had dreamed of seeing. As they sat by the waterfall, Eva's condition continued to deteriorate. The virus she had contracted had taken its toll on her, and she could collapse at any moment. But despite everything, they shared a final, tender moment. Will captured their last memory together with a photo, a testament to their love, no matter how brief it had been. As they sat there, the beauty of the waterfall seemed to contrast with the sorrow that hung between them. But in that moment they found solace in each other, knowing that their bond was unbreakable, even in the face of tragedy. And it would be a tragedy, my friend, if you ended your entertainment here. Click on my recommendations and continue your binge. Subscribe and drop a like to get a reminder every Saturday for the best movie event in town, my friend.